Hey everyone, this is Whitney from the Broken Token Podcast, and we're excited to bring you the third of 3 videos that we recorded at the 2016 Southern-Fried Gameroom Expo held in Atlanta. Now admittedly, the name of the session is a bit of a mouthful. It's called Repair It, Restore It, Don't Spend Your Money on It, Spend Brent's instead. Now although that is a bit of a tongue-in-cheek reference to one of the segments that we have on our monthly podcast, the goal of the session is the same. And that's to take the audience through an all-up look, as well as to discuss some of the trending topics around repairing and restoring arcade games. As we all know, parts for these games are getting more and more scarce as time goes by. Now whether it's NOS artwork or NOS parts, it doesn't seem to matter. They both cost a boatload of cash. Now whether that's reproduction artwork or reproduction parts, the same thing still applies. They wind up costing a boatload of cash. I think you can see there's a recurring theme going on here. So we round out the discussion in the presentation by showing you how you can build something for yourself that, although it does cost a little bit of money up front, the goal for it is for it to save you some time and definitely save you some money by helping you to become more self-sufficient in your repairs. We think it's a pretty sweet bench setup, and we hope you think the same. Now we do have the bill of material for building this bench setup, as well as a PDF version of our presentation in the accompanying blog post for this video. You can find all that on our website. So with that, why don't we go ahead and turn it over to us, and let's talk about repairing and restoring arcade games, as well as building a pretty sweet PCB and monitor bench test kit. All right, so with that, if you're ready, I'm ready. Why don't we go ahead and blow up the logo and have some fun. Thanks. It's a little bit after 7, so we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Whitney Roberts. I'm co-host of the Broken Token Classic Arcade and Pinball Podcast, and to my right,
I am Brent Griffith, the other host of said podcast.
Yes, exactly. So we know it's 7 o'clock on on a Saturday night. We appreciate you guys sitting in for for this session, and we're going to take a little bit of a bit of a dual approach to this session. We're going to cover a couple of topics here, and then by the end we'll get them tied together, I promise. So just kind of work with us a little bit, and hopefully you guys will be able to walk away from this session with something that you can use for yourself, build for yourself, and hopefully make the whole collecting experience a lot more fun. But we titled this session around spending Brent's money. And if anybody's listening to the show for any length of time, we've kind of gotten into this a bit of a cycle with a segment of the show where we talk about reproduction parts, we talk about restoration parts, and we cover that part of the hobby pretty, Brent? Pretty completely.
Pretty thoroughly, yes.
Yeah, pretty thoroughly. And we spend a lot of time doing research on that. And we're both avid arcade collectors. Brent's, I think, a little more in the pinball side than I am right now, but I have a few machines as well. But it's the love of the arcades that got us. And I think one of the challenges is finding a way to stay in the hobby for years and years and years without, hopefully without going broke. Okay, so we're going to cover a few topics and see if you guys can't leave with a couple nuggets here. All right.
I've already failed you, Whitney.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Just righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. That's what you got to remember.
I'm on it.
All right.
I'm not moving.
Okay, so before we get into some of the details, let's take a second and talk about the dilemma of arcade collecting today. And I've seen a couple of posts on Facebook that talk about, okay, where do you fall from a classification standpoint as a collector? Are you beginning collector, what we consider, I guess, a seasoned collector, or a veteran collector? And if you're just getting into the hobby, just I guess kind of by show of hands, is anybody here a year or under in collecting arcade games? Okay, all right, okay, we got a couple. Okay, that's fine. A couple bullet points. If you're just getting started, where do you find your games? Where do you buy your games? And, how are you approaching managing the money for this hobby? Because I freely admit the money gets out of hand. It gets stupid crazy, okay? And it'll get stupid crazy quick if you don't put some controls on it. So for you two guys that are just getting into the hobby, how are you all finding your machines? Just real quick.
Warehouse rate.
That's not supposed to happen to a dude who's only been in for a year, Jeez, man. All right, I need to go where you live, okay? All right, no, that's a good answer. That's a very fortunate answer.
Well, I see your first bullet point.
Yeah.
Craigslist. So we did. It was the reverse. Someone put a Craigslist ad that wanted to get collectors in our area.
Okay.
Just $1, hey, having pizza.
Yeah.
Meet up somewhere. We're into arcade machines and pins. We'd like to form a club. And then once I found that people in my region, you got their scraps.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's how you have to, I mean, honestly, it's kind of how you have to start, to some degree. So it sounds like you're in a bit of a co-op scenario, and that's good. So actually consider yourself fortunate, because sometimes this can be a fairly lonely hobby because everybody's out to get the stuff that everybody else wants, so it becomes pretty highly competitive. How about you, sir? You said that you're just getting in. I mean, yes and no. It depends upon the deal and everything like that. Yeah, and try to see what I guess the ceiling price on some games would be. I think eBay's really good for that. So after you've been in for a little bit, of course we all turn to maybe eBay. We turn to Craigslist. KLOV, is everybody here on KLOV by any chance? Okay. All right. What is KLOV? It's called the Killer List of Video Games, but it's the International Arcade Museum. That's the nonprofit that owns the KLOV database, and there's discussion forums that go along with that. KLOV's been around for a long time. It's a great source of information for going and searching for information about games, repairing games, technical information, and things like that. Probably your premier site for your classic arcade games.
For classic arcades.
They do reach a little bit into the modern era of the 90s. There's a few other forums that specialize in the 90s games, but if you're in the classic eras and early JAMA stuff, KLOV is kind of it.
Yeah, KLOV is it. The good thing about KLOV is it has a pretty active buy-sell trade community, and you can go there and post once for games or for parts and find parts, and it's probably the only place you're going to go and find, let's say, I don't know, maybe a quantum marquee or something like that. Something that's fairly rare, fairly desirable, and things like that. So. Facebook and also CoinOp Warehouse, I mentioned these two because I am surprised at the speed at which Facebook has almost supplanted forums like KLOV and even the older style news groups and things like that, where you can go and join regional groups and you can find games before they ever hit the larger collecting community. So I don't know if you guys are on Facebook or don't Facebook at all, and if you don't, I totally respect that and I get it. But if you are on, you definitely want to take a look at some of the Facebook groups, because you can find stuff, and a lot of times you have to watch it pretty close because it's gone quick. For anybody that's on Facebook, do you watch the CoinOp Warehouse page? Okay.
Stuff goes up and down like in minutes.
Minutes. And you know something? No problem saying this. I missed a Mad Planets on Lloyd's page, on the CoinOp Warehouse page, by like 9 minutes, and I was completely flipping out. I was so mad at myself. But what's that?
How much was it?
It went for $900.
Oh.
Yes, and you know something, and that's the reason why I looked at my laptop screen. I cried. I went and got a shot of bourbon. I cried again, got another shot of bourbon, and said, "I'll just try again tomorrow." Because what does Mad Planets go for today? $2,000, 20.
It was on auction in Florida. Went for 19.
The one, $2,000 not working. Did you? Yeah, you're talking about the one that recently sold in Florida.
Yeah.
That was $1,900. It would not boot completely. Right. That was before a 15% buyer's premium, and a 6% sales tax.
Side art and cabinet needed
you were there. You saw that.
We watched the bit. One of our guys out there actually was bidding on it.
Oh man. Well, I'm glad he got a Mad Planets. Okay. I'm glad somebody.
You're not spending my money on that.
Well,
I know.
I'm telling you, I'm not done yet. Okay. So that's how it goes.
I've already bought someone a pinball machine this weekend. Apparently. Well, I'm not buying you a Mad Planet.
Well, you know something? For a little bit later on in the presentation, I've tallied up how much of your money I have spent. So we're actually gonna.
That's why this pocket's light.
Yes, yeah, it's exactly right. So so those are good sources. Now from the veteran collector standpoint, I think really just networking amongst your peers is probably the best. Is probably the best way to get games. Just knowing what other people have for sale, knowing what other people knowing what you want. But even then, it's just tough.
there's a couple of groups on Facebook. The Arcade Exchange is a great one just for seeing things on a national level for what comes up for sale. But we all face the same problem. It's just to what degree and how, I guess kind of how many tentacles do we have or feelers do we have out there to help us find the games. Okay.
Hey, what collector is the?
Coin-Op Warehouse is in Hagerstown, Maryland. So no, it's not local to us. Okay.
They've got a brand new like 60,000 square foot place too.
Yeah, I mean, and they'll fill it. And they'll fill it. Yeah. What was your question? I'm sorry. Parts and games, and they sell other stuff other than arcade games. They'll sell like general coin-op and like jukeboxes, memorabilia, like Coca-Cola merchandise, stuff like that. Anything that's collectible. And they primarily focus on like estate buyouts and large scale buys, and then they'll bring them in, and as they unload them off of a semi, they take pictures, put them up on Facebook, and you watch the $100 bill sprout wings. And people just go nutso over everything that's on his page.
So, like, you're in a very good position. You mentioned, we spoke earlier, you're from Alabama, Mobile, Alabama.
All right.
Is there a local Facebook group that you're aware of?
So the Pizza Parlor meetup with where we agreed to form
a Facebook group.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
I was going to say, if it's not, you should start it, because then you're moderating it, and maybe you can get you can
get something.
Just turn on approval, so you have to see the ads first. Yeah. I'm just saying.
Yes. Yeah. And you know what they call that? That's called the auctioneer's privilege, is what that's called.
There's nothing underhanded there.
No.
You took the initiative, sir.
Yeah. Yes. You took the initiative.
I remember last year he bought the Galactic, a real nice Galactic, wasn't it?
Okay. No. So let's think about this for a second. So what is making the arcade hobby tough? And I think it's tough right now, if you want to know the truth of it, because games go so high right now. I mean, over the past, what do you guys think? Maybe the past 2 to 3 years, we have seen the price on games literally hockey stick. Okay, and they haven't done a hockey stick at the same, the same. Different titles have not appreciated at the same rate, but the floor on, it seems like, all the desirable games has gone up by probably 30 to 40%. All right. So I think about this. What makes it so tough? Well, there's definitely increased collector interest right now. There's just an overall increase in the desire for nostalgia for the 80s and 90s type of material. And, movies with like Pixels and Wreck-It Ralph and stuff like that, it definitely helps and contributes to I guess, that kind of retro mania, so to speak. You've got the whole barcade, and I put that in, kind of loose terms there, but you've got the whole barcade explosion as well. I don't think, this is just me, I don't think that I saw, a food fight go for $1,800 to $2,000 2 years ago, okay? I know what I paid for my food fight, and if I had to go buy a food fight right now, I don't think I would. And that's actually kind of sad, because it's an awesome game. But you see them snatched up at such a pace that people have, I guess, literally unwittingly said, okay, I now have to put another $1,000 or close to another $1,000 for all the good stuff. And the sad part about it is I don't know that it's really going to slow down.
So let me throw this out here, and I've said this on the show before. If you're looking for a title, don't let that drive you. Don't fall in love. Don't get emotional about it. There are more.
That's easy to say.
For the most part, there's more out there. There's some exceptions, but you can get into that mania, as Whitney mentioned, and then you turn around and it's to your detriment. Now, as a seller, of course, the individual's going to try to get as much as they can. As the buyer, you want it as low as you can, and you just got to walk that balance and say, okay, I know we just talked about in the auction episode, where in my mind, if I'm in an auction, I've got, this is what I'm going to pay, and if it goes $1 over it, I don't care, I'm done. So it's a hard mentality to get into, but I say this a lot: don't overbuild for the neighborhood, because eventually this is going to ebb and flow, and if you decide to move it out of your game room, you don't want to do it on a downtime. So
that's true. But one thing I will say is this hobby is very easy to get emotional about, because
it's not.
I mean, you see rows of games, rows of beautiful games lit up. You go back here to the game room, and it greases the skids, to make some decisions that maybe you get caught up in the moment. And I think that drives a lot of it. So, real quick, and then full-on restorations. I mean, we'll talk about that here towards the end of the presentation. But I think that the whole build it again mindset has made parts and just empty cabinets and things like that just go bananas. Okay, so the problems that we face, all right? So real quick, not only do you need to acquire the games, but you have to fix and you have to maintain the games. How many in here do your own repairs? Excellent. Okay, that is great. That is great. What's that? Oh, and damage. Yeah. Well, that's, to bake a cake, you got to break some eggs, and that's just the way that it goes. It's all part of learning in the hobby. So, another aspect of this, where do you find the reproduction parts? How are you going to acquire the parts for a 30-year-old machine? And I've been collecting, I don't know, maybe 7 years or so now. And one of the primary questions that I get asked by people that see some of my games or find out that I'm doing this, they're like, how do you keep this stuff running? And it's like, it's actually a little harder than you would think. I mean, how many of us have a laptop that is 30 years old or a computer that is 30 years old? Okay, all right. Or use it every day, so, and maybe so. But, but the bulk of us would say no. And so maintaining these games, computers that are 25, 30 years old, it's actually kind of tough. So let's think about this. If you're not fixing your games or learning how to fix your games, I'm glad a lot of you guys here do. So hopefully, and that's good. I'm glad to see it, because that means a lot of what's going to come in the next several slides will be right up your alley. If you're not doing that, then you're definitely on track to spend a lot more money. Okay, I know I have some friends of mine that have just recently gotten into the pinball hobby themselves. They pay to have every repair done, all right? And they've got some of the earlier DMD games, and I don't understand how they make that work, okay? When you have to call somebody to do every single repair, and that's okay. You just have to budget for it. But I could not stay in the hobby or acquire what I want, if that was the case. So, and if you can't locate reproduction parts, you're definitely on track to never finish games, okay? And so if you can't fix them, the projects never finish. If you can't find the repro parts, the projects never finish. Overall satisfaction in the hobby goes down, and then eventually stuff is sold, okay? Or you don't get the games that you want, and that's probably one of the bigger things as well. Okay, so I saw this a couple days ago, and I laughed. I laughed and laughed and laughed. And the meme gens have got it just nailed. Okay, so they say, what is the quickest way to become a millionaire in this hobby? And it's to start out a billionaire. Okay, and I think in a lot of ways when I'm watching the finances or watching the parts come out, and you say, okay, did I buy this? Did I buy this? Or do I need this? Or should I shelve this? Or should I get this or get that? I mean, I think this is somewhat apropos. So it's I think it is a bit of humor, but I think there's also a tinge of truth to this. And I think we could all say, if you look back on what you spent, I mean, maybe you've bought low, maybe you've gotten a lot of good deals, maybe some of them aren't so good. I think that would probably be the lion's share of us, but it's I think it rings true. I think it rings true.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to try to help you fix a little bit of that, okay? So if we can impart a little bit of knowledge that will help you do some things for yourself, save a little bit of money along the way, fix a few games along the way, or even turn that warehouse raid into a better deal, or potentially make a barn find or 3 or 4 game deal even better, then I think we've certainly or hopefully helped some people here in the hobby. So the crux of all this, it takes money to keep your interest level in the hobby high and to keep it going, okay? So, let's help you be as successful as you can. If you're self-sufficient, you're definitely going to love this a whole lot more. I guess as a question here to the audience, if you look at your budget for what you spend in the arcade hobby, what do you spend the most money on? I mean, is it game acquisition? Is it finding working boards? Is it rebuilding monitors? Is it what is it? Just out of curiosity, is it yes? Is it all of the above? What's that?
Building an arcade.
Building an arcade. Yeah, I think that trumps it for sure, no doubt. But out of curiosity, what do you guys spend the bulk of your time and money on?
I think that artwork one hits it. Yeah, artwork. You can very easily spend a couple grand in 2 or 3 games.
Yeah.
I just dropped $500 on my Tron at Phoenix Arcade, right? Yeah.
Yes. And the thing about it is, I don't see that slowing down anytime either. That's just become the artwork situation has just become the new normal. It feels like, so artwork packages for games, it's just kind of the way that it goes. So Brent and I on the show, I mean, we've got quite a few technical segments. If you look back over our library, we spend a good amount of our time talking about fixing games and walking through processes and procedures on doing things like repairing monitors and so on down the line. And we tend to find, I guess our experience, that the monitor situation is the one that either makes or breaks people. Okay, you can always buy another board. Okay, you can go find another working board. It's easy enough to rewire a harness or find another harness or go to Bob Roberts and get another harness. But where do you go and buy new monitors? I mean, you don't. Okay, where do you go and find nice clean tubes? Okay, junkyard, recycling centers. Okay, likely. Okay, or you just find another collector that you can talk out of their monitors and things like that. But I feel that the whole monitor situation is the key to keeping the games going for the next 20 to 30 years, everything else being equal. Okay, so all right, yeah, we're good. Thank you. So let's talk about this here for a second. I titled this "All My Dirty Little Secrets Out in the Open" because I think
this isn't a complete list, Whitney.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, thank you. If for public consumption, we're just going to leave it at this. Right. Okay. So
catch me later, and we'll.
Yeah, okay. Exactly. So when I think about my time in the hobby and the mistakes that I've made, okay, in collecting games, in spending money on games, I think this in just spending time in my approach to collecting, I think this is a good summarization on, reflecting on the past 5 or 6 years. Where have I just burned cycles at? Okay. Number one, you're doing things by yourself. So because you're doing things by yourself, you may not have access to a buddy to help you lift things. You may not have access to a buddy to help you move things or whatever that may be. What do? Okay, so I wind up moving games around, okay, backing one game up to another game just to get access to a working monitor. You guys done that before? You pull a working game out of your lineup. What do? You wheel it around to the back of another game, and whether or not the monitor's a match, maybe a 4900 backs up to a game with a G07 or this or that, you're going to have to adjust things. So you're potentially taking one game down to try to troubleshoot another game. You do that 2 or 3 times, and you've killed half of your row, okay? Maybe not killed it literally, but as things go, time just leads up to that, all right? So I move games around just to get access to working power supply. You guys done that before? I mean, I have, and I've committed these cardinal sins over and over again. And by the 9th or 10th time, it's like, I need to fix this. I shouldn't be doing this.
As Mike mentioned, you're kind of running on borrowed time. You're taking working games apart to swap stuff around in not necessarily light games.
Yes.
And you run the risk of you broke something that wasn't broke.
Yeah. And with
you fixed a broken game, unfortunately.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly.
You've blown
right.
the sound out of a game, changing parts around. I've never done anything like that.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm lying.
Yeah, and my problem, and I'm freely willing to admit it. I've done all of this, and I've taken working games and created my own issues because I didn't have access to the proper tools or to the proper procedures, and I sure as heck didn't have access to somebody to help me and say, okay, don't do this, or Whitney, we can make this a lot easier. So it's kind of been a little bit of the school of hard knocks, maybe maybe kind of hitting yourself in the head with a hammer, and eventually by the 8th or 9th time it starts to hurt. So, I would even go so far as, I've done things that are semi-dangerous. You move games, you say, oh man, I'm going to feel that in the morning, throw you back out, whatever that may be, and or I've got this up here, and I was like, should I tell on myself like this? But yeah, I guess I will.
We do this on the show every month.
I know. It's an exercise in that, isn't it? But you power up a game and you say, okay, that's fine. Or you power up a borrowed monitor and you say, I'll set that off to the side, or I'll wheel that game back around. I'll put it all back together, and you don't discharge the monitor. To make it safe to handle. And you say, as long as it's sitting up against that back wall, it'll be okay. I'll remember that it's dangerous. And you know what? You don't remember that it's dangerous, because after you're on to the next thing, you come back to it a day or two later. It's like, should I discharge that or not? Nah, I think I'm okay. And you go on, just out of the interest of time. And that's it's not good. It's not good.
One person that's shocked themselves on the same monitor 3 times.
Really? Is he sitting here?
Yeah, you admitted to it.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Yeah. I was just really hoping it didn't have to go that far.
He didn't have to get to the 9.
Yeah.
3
I
was the magic number there.
I was trying to give myself an out, is what I was doing. And the culmination of this is games are down longer than they have to be, and it creates an issue around, at least for me, long-term satisfaction in the hobby, because it kind of beats down on you a little bit, if everything's not working and so on. So, and you're trying to solve a bigger problem. I think we're just trying to get to the point where we can solve a bigger problem at hand. Yeah.
Ready?
Yep. Okay, so how I help myself out, all right, is I decided to put a moratorium on working on my games and say, I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to do something that hopefully pays off with some dividends a little bit later down the road, okay? So do any of you guys use test rigs or bench rigs or anything? I mean, have you made up your own test rigs and bench rigs and stuff? Oh, started to? I'll tell you, it's actually more involved than you think, and we're going to talk into that. So for all the guys here, okay, you guys are nodding your head yes. I mean, just give me just a quick short description. What have you built for yourself?
Typically it's JAMA.
Okay.
Right, so, where we can hook up a monitor.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden you start having, adapter wires to easily connect to red, green, blue.
Yep.
Sync cables. It's a little challenging.
It is a little challenging. I will admit that. I mean, so do you guys have different rigs for different games, or is it just all JAMA and adapters, or I mean, how are you approaching monitors, or what?
Typically it was JAMA, right?
Yeah.
We plug in a single JAMA board.
Yep.
It works.
Yep.
Right? And then you plug in different monitors.
Yeah.
JAMA.
Yes.
So
yeah.
It's not clean, but it works.
Yeah, it does. So, it's interesting because I look at my needs, and I guess what I'm going to show and what I'm going to demo up here is a little more suited to my needs. But at the same point, as I was going through the iterations on this, I found that I think that it solves a fairly universal problem. Okay, so real quick, would you hold that for me for a second, Brent? So what we're going to talk about, thank you. So what we're going to talk about is we're going to walk through the building of.
I saw someone do this once for Elvis.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I don't know if it makes me feel.
I'm not joking.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it makes me feel important or what, but we'll run with it. Yeah, you're saying no, you don't want me to do that. So what I've done here, everybody, is I have put together a bench setup, okay? And this bench setup is made of everything that you can buy at Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever it may be. And what we're going to do is we're going to walk through this here in just a few minutes. But what we're also going to do is we're going to give you the bill of materials for this, the links to everything, so that you can go and buy every single part for this, and you can replicate this for yourself. Okay. Now you may say, okay, so what makes this special? What makes this unique? So we'll get into that just here in a minute. Make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, so this is not an end-all be-all, but what I found is this largely fits the bill for like 95% of what I think I would need to do as a classic arcade collector, restorer, rebuilder, repair, however that may be. Okay. Now, just real quick, just to kind of walk through this here. On this we've got we have the RFI filter. We've got a few distribution blocks. We've got an isolation transformer. Single pole throw switch. Another knockout box with receptacle, another switch, a switching power supply, and a couple voltage readouts. just real quick, and I'll get into this here in a few minutes, just toss a couple numbers out there. What do you think the total build cost on this is? I'm not going to tell you right now. I'll get into it. I'm just kind of curious as to what everybody thinks it would be.
$60.
$60?
All new parts, 200 used.
So a little
$20,000.
$20,000.
The closest without going over.
Okay, I'm going to tell you, you can have it. All right.
We'll cut you a deal. 10K
Yeah, we'll cut you a deal
today.
So what I did to answer your question, all new or used parts, I purposely went with as many new parts as I could so that I could document the build of the device, okay? Because if I just scrounged around through my bins, I would have a harder time finding something that would be comparable to where I could build the bill of materials so that you guys could go out and do this for yourself, okay?
No, but that's not to say some parts that you already have cannot be substituted.
Totally.
Price the switcher based off new or used.
Yeah, exactly, and I'll definitely run through that, okay?
You need to quit moving.
What's that?
You need to quit moving.
I'm sorry about that.
You keep veering this way.
Well, yeah, I talk with my hands, and you know how it goes. So before I get into the build, and there's a couple things that are unique about this, and I'll get to that just here in a minute, because I think that's what makes it so universally kind of cool, okay? But just a couple points of reflection on this. This is built, okay, to naturally power a monitor and power a board, okay? You're going to need some JAMA adapters to make this work, all right? So like a Nintendo to JAMA adapter, something along those lines where you could take like a Donkey Kong board, plug it into a JAMA adapter, and then plug it into the JAMA harness right here and power up a Nintendo board. Power up a Taito. Okay. All right. I do that on purpose just to make sure that I'm not mispronouncing it yet again. Okay. Your Atari, Bally, Midway boards, whatever it may be, but you can get a handful of JAMA adapters, and then you're covering largely 90% of what's out there. Okay. So that's a one-time cost that has payback later on down the line. So I'm not going to include that cost here.
And so that everyone's aware, this is a lot of folks that I know that do their own repairs have probably seen this. This is basically what's in the bottom of a game. There's a couple with some additions.
Yeah, with some additions.
It's basically this is the power plant for a video game. Yeah. Right here, condensed to one board.
How do you get power from the wall to that? D-plug?
Yes, it actually what it does, just a computer power supply, just a D-plug that plugs into the RFI filter right here.
So a D-plug, a JAMA board, and a monitor,
you're good. That's exactly right. Yeah. Now I didn't bring the, and I've just not put the connectors on this yet. I've not wired up the controls to it yet. But that's next on the list. But
another little box.
And that's what I'm going to plan to do. But I'm going to power this up here in just a few minutes, and Lord willing, it doesn't blow up on me. And I promise you, it hadn't blown up yet. But we'll power this up, and I'll kind of walk through a few things on it. Okay. Because there are a couple things that I think make this fairly unique. You have to have a need for this setup, and when I say a need for this setup, I'm a big Nintendo collector, and so what's the big issue if you're a Nintendo collector that you don't face if you don't have Nintendo cabinets? It's the monitor. That's right, because what do the Sanyo monitors run on? 100 volt, okay? So what do you typically need to power a Sanyo monitor? A Nintendo power supply, okay?
That was the perfect. Hand that back to him as a parting gift.
Oh, yeah.
It's 700 free hours of AOL from us to you. Okay.
Your timing is impeccable, you know it? You're spot on. You're spot on. So yeah.
Don't use that all in one.
Yes.
What you do is use it within 30 days.
Yes. And yeah, if you hurt yourself, we're only partially responsible for that. So. Okay, up until the point where you swear at us, and then it's over with. So I'm a big Nintendo collector. The issue that I run into is exactly that, and that's what, if we go back a couple of screens, the reason why I was wheeling my Nintendo cabinets around to the back of another Nintendo cabinet is so that I could borrow a power supply or get access to another Sanyo. Because hooking my Donkey Kong up to a G07, totally doable, but I'm not going to, okay? Because then I have to get some converters, and it just adds another problem to another problem to another problem is what it does. So I'm like, I need a way to power my Nintendo boards and my Sanyo monitors, as well as power my G07s, my 4900s, or 4600s, and everything else that runs on 115. So the way that this is set up is this particular board is actually dual voltage. It outputs dual voltage. Okay. So yeah, I mean, do you mind, Sean? Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Sean O'Shea, our unpaid production assistant.
Exactly. So here's the cool. Here's kind of the cool thing about this board is that take this out so you can see a little bit better. But this board, okay, with the flip of a switch inside this particular gang box right here, you can switch the output of this electrical outlet to be either 100 volts or 115 volts, just like that. Okay. Now, the switch doesn't make it happen. The switch only allows it to happen. The secret sauce on this is this particular type of ISO. Okay, so if you're going to build this, you got to get this ISO. All right. Now, you don't need to take pictures. Oh, okay. All right. My bad.
Look, you've already run someone. Yeah. You could have had AOL.
No. So we're going to have this. This is all documented. Okay, and at the end of this, we're going to produce the slide deck and everything as a PDF. You'll be able to get the bill of materials, so you can go and completely build this all for yourself. So no worries on this.
And so that before you forget to mention, this ISO is not difficult to find. It's very common.
No, it is, but you have to find this ISO. That's the thing. So you want to punch it. Oh, hey, one thing I didn't talk about. And you also have to have something to drive the monitor, which would be, I don't know if you guys have got this, but it's the Crafty Mech test pattern generator. Yeah, you've got to have this.
We talk about this all the time on the show.
Yeah, and you can pick this up on the KLOV forums. Okay.
What was there a waiting list now?
Yeah, there's a waiting list. Yes.
It's worth the wait.
It is.
When I started the hobby, one of the first things I had to start into was monitor repair, and I scoured eBay for old school test pattern generators.
How about that?
Otherwise, I was trying to drag over a cabinet and extend the video over to test monitors. I couldn't believe it took so long for I kicked myself for not having done it myself.
That's exactly right.
But they're not that expensive, and they are a lifesaver.
And I've been in, like I say, I've been in the hobby, 7+ years, whatever, 6-7 years, and I waited this long to build it for myself. And now I kick myself because I didn't build it a year in. It's like I just did it the hard way for so long. So now what the goal is to give you guys a hit list, and then you build this for yourself. And it's fairly universal. The other thing that you're definitely going to want to get is a set of the test pattern generator cables that a guy on the Claw forums going by Buffett, he sells these. Okay, you got to pick these up. All right, so he makes up two types of cables. One specifically for the Sanyo for the Nintendo monitors. The other cable are more universal for the G07s, the 49, 4600s of the world, and everything like that.
So if you're so inclined, you can make the cables up.
You can.
This is a time saver thing.
Yeah.
This is where do you want to spend your time?
Where do you want to spend your
budgeting.
time?
It's not just money budgeting. It's time. It's effort.
Yeah, take my money, Buffett. That's exactly right. So, and that's what
take
it gets
my money,
into.
Buffett. That's going to be the phrase
we will make that
of the
into
podcast.
We'll make that into a show title.
There we take my money, Buffett.
Take my money, Buffett. Somehow, some way.
That's the ugliest one I had, Steve.
It's going up in the bar.
Excellent. Sure. All right, thank you, sir. Okay, so I call this the BT Beast. Everything needs a name, and it's honestly the best thing I could come up with in like 2 days. So I apologize. All right, but it's got to have a name so you can refer back to it, and that's what I called it. Because the thing is a hoss. All right, I mean it is a big unwieldy board, but the great thing about it is you can set this up on a bench, or you can put it in the front seat of your truck, or you can you can haul it into a barn, and regardless of where you want to take it, this is everything. Okay, I mean by and large. This is everything. So I went through a few iterations to find the best layout. This is the layout that I finally decided upon naturally. But I did a lot of Legoing with it. I did a lot of moving around. What's going to work best? What just doesn't feel right? The interesting thing about this is I could have made this thing half the size, and I know I could have, all right? But when you're building it, you don't want to be crammed in and make a bad solder connection or make a bad crimp, and you fire it up and you shock yourself, all right? And I will admit, I did taste 115 one time while I was working on this, all right? And, you just don't really want to do that all the time.
The tick's almost gone.
Yeah, the tick is almost gone. Yeah, yes, exactly. exactly. So it did. It took a few iterations to get there, but I think a picture of this will be in the bill of materials, and you can modify the layout as you see fit. Okay. I mean, I could have stood the switcher up. I could have scrunched all this a little closer together. I probably could have eliminated all of this, but the whole distribution block scenario was so handy because I could do a earth ground run anywhere I wanted it. Okay, I didn't have to. It took the whole issue of the isolation transformer out of the scenario. Okay, as far as potentially, shocking yourself to Kingdom Come with that.
You are scaring people away from this. You realize
that. I mean, there's just a couple things you have to worry about, and that's one.
This is disclaimers.
Yeah, exactly. This is all disclaimer material, but it just made wiring it all up very handy because, realistically, you're taking line power and you're dividing it out here. You're dividing it out here, and then you're building two switches off of that same line power for two different destinations. So when you're working on it, you just want a little bit of room, okay? And so this is the layout that I came up with. And I'll admit, nothing here is original thought on my part. It's not, okay? What I did is I had a need. I got up on KLOV and I searched, and I searched, and I searched, and quite a few things that are in a couple slides coming up will explain, I guess, kind of the results of that. But all I did was just amass all the information into one place and then just figure out how to put it all together, okay? Like I said, I wanted a single board that would do everything, and I wanted something that was bench friendly, but also able to be toted around. All right, thank you. Okay, so here's one thing that I absolutely cannot stand, all right? It's insufficient data, okay? And so that's the reason why we're going to give you a bill of materials. That's the reason why you're going to walk away with everything that you need to build it. We just didn't want to show it to you and say, hey, good luck, go do it. And then everybody says, okay, that was kind of worthless because I saw it and I got nothing out of it, okay? So like I say, you guys are definitely going to have a leave behind with that. So, all right, so the bill of materials. This is everything as it costs itself up, okay? And like I say, I purposely went and bought new, and a couple of people were pretty close, okay, on the total number, but it actually came out to right around $206, okay, to build this. All right, what's that?
You were so close. I was close.
Yeah. Yeah, you're actually close.
I was close.
You said 150? Yeah. I mean, and so you're getting you're definitely getting close on that. But the thing about it is, when I look back on the number of $200 that I've spent in this hobby over the years, and all I've done is fetter time away or walk away from an afternoon and say I accomplished absolutely nothing, then this is actually a good investment on that. Yeah. You want to sit? Are you good?
I'm good.
Okay. All right. So just real quick. The baseboard and the electrical items, I list where everything is here. And this is the bill of material for the presentation. It's not you'll be able to download this, but I've also got the bill of material with all the links in Word document. Okay, and you'll be able to go to our website brokentoken.com and download that probably within the next week, just whenever I can get time to it. But I've pretty much got everything done for you. Okay. So if you follow us on either Facebook or Twitter, I'll post it, and then you'll see it, and then you'll know to go and download it. So it'll be there. So there's what's that, Brent? Okay. No, there's everything from a baseboard and electrical item standpoint. Some of this I bought from eBay, like the distribution blocks, the little strips that tie the distribution blocks together and make it essentially all one circuit. Those came from eBay. Most of the electrical items right here came from Lowe's. This came from Arcade Shop. This came from just rooting and hunting and finding. The voltage displays came from eBay. And so as you kind of work your way down the list, the JAMA harness came from Bob Roberts. Okay, it's his fully loaded JAMA harness. And if you get up on Bob's site, and this is something I definitely want to point out. If you get up on Bob's site, he has a fantastic walkthrough on how to take a JAMA harness and label it to its constituent parts and then bind it together and then separate it at the end of the JAMA harness for however long it is, okay? So I'll include that link in the bill of materials, but it's a fantastic thing to go and read because Bob lays it all out there and all you have to do is just walk through what he's doing and that's it.
So one thing I'll toss out real quick on the harness, That is kind of pricey, kind of spendy for a JAMA harness.
It is.
But if you've never bought a harness from Bob, it is excellent.
They're awesome
Heavy
harnesses.
grade wires, nice serviceable connectors.
Everything's labeled.
You got to remember,
properly.
in a game, once you hook that up, it's going to be there for the duration. It's not moving, ideally.
Yeah.
If you're moving this around, plugging it into stuff, it's hanging, this is a quality harness.
Yeah,
So
it is.
it's definitely worth the spend to build yourself a tool that you're going to use again and again.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Does Bob Roberts still ship your parts? I thought
He is.
Yep, he is.
He is. Now, he took a bit of, I think maybe a 4 to 6 or 8 week hiatus or something due to his health, but he's back. He's back. And so, what's that? Oh, wow. Okay, thank you. Man, time's just got away from me, everybody. I apologize. But yeah, I mean, saving yourself $5 to $10 on the harness doesn't really buy yourself a lot in the long run. The displays and connectors, $12. The wires, the connectors and the heat shrink, that actually came out to be more pricey than I thought that it would. But one thing that I did find is that you can go to Lowe's and buy wire. Okay, that's really, I think, a very expensive way to do it. I found some PC power cords and I cut them. Okay, so if you can just find some of those, they're all rated for 15 amp. They're perfect for everything that you're going to be doing. Slice them very carefully with a box cutter and pull the 3 leads out, and then go that route. And that's what all of the main electrical wire is made from. Okay. All right, some of the more interesting points, I kind of talked about these here for a second, but just real quick, the ISO, the reason the ISO is so important is you want to get one of the Ravenswood's Electronics Corporation's ISOs, and these come out of a Centuri cabinet, okay? So that's the secret sauce that makes this work. If you can find a Time Pilot, a Gyrus, whatever it may be, that's the ISO that you need, all right? And, voltage display, and like I say, some of the electrical parts, and then also the power connectors for the monitors. All right, and this is just lamp cord with a Molex 2-position connector on it, but this is everything you need to power up a G07, 4900, 4600, whatever it may be, and then you can just make your cords out and then just swap them out as you see fit. Okay, Brent. All right, real quick, I included this. I won't walk all the way through this, but this is how you wire the ISO, okay? And this is just after a little bit of research on Clove, but in order to extract the dual voltages out of this one particular ISO, all you do is just walk through this process right here, okay? So it is a little, I guess, non-intuitive, because usually ISOs have a primary and input and a secondary and output, and it's same voltage in, same voltage out, but this ISO has 2 sets of windings in it, and depending upon which set of wires you tap, you're either tapping the voltage straight through or you're tapping the voltage after a step down. Okay, so like I say, on the primary side, there's 4 wires. You bind 2 pairs together to get your line and your neutral, and then on the output side, you join them as we see right here and connect, and then wire the 2 legs to a single pole dual throw switch, and then you're switching between the 2 sides of the ISO, and that's what gives you the 110. Or I'm sorry, the 115 or the 100 volt, okay? All right. And then real quick, just when you're wiring up the switch itself, what I did is I tried to make this to the point where you guys could see this when you get hold of the slide presentation. As you can see, the switch is down in the 100 volt position, and I labeled which wire. You see that says perp on it, so that's the purple wire coming off of the secondary side of the ISO. The other wire would be the blue wire, and then that wire in the middle is what feeds the electrical outlet right here. Okay, so when you switch this, that switches between the different rails on the different windings of the ISO, and then that just feeds this electrical outlet right here. Okay, that's all it is. All right. Okay. Back one second. All right. Let's real quick. Let's power this up before we get into the second part of this.
Put your finger right here.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yes, right there on the 110, please.
Sean, if you survive this, I got some AOL for you, buddy. I'm gonna step over here.
Okay, so the first thing, okay, so I just plugged it up. So the first thing that you see, and I wired it this way purposely, is this switch right here is a pilot switch, okay? So you can see if the board's got juice or not, all right? So I'll pull this out. You'll see that the pilot light went out, okay? So, and that's just a function of the switch itself, okay?
And that's a really handy feature, because on the rig that I have, which is kind of a start of this in that it's a conglomeration of bits and pieces, I don't have a safety like that. And I've done some stupid stuff, and it's been hot. I'm going to take this one.
Yeah, I'm going to be building myself another one on Monday is what this amounts to. So Brent's Christmas comes early. All right, so I'm going to do the monitor portion of this first, okay, because once it's plugged up, then essentially all you do is set your voltage, throw the switch, that pilot light comes on to tell you that this outlet is now energized, okay? And I don't have my multimeter with me, but you guys will have to trust me, it does. It outputs right at 115 volts, okay?
Or 100.
Or 100, depending upon the switch.
Right.
Depending upon the switch. That's exactly right. Now, it's actually probably going to read a little bit high because it's unloaded, okay? So when you put a load on it, you'll see the voltage drop down a little bit. But don't be worried, because this ISO actually puts out a little more than 100 volts, but that's fine. The Sanyos can actually take somewhere plus or minus 8 to 10%. So all the way up to about 108 volts or 110 is actually okay on a Sanyo, but 125 is not, okay? That's going to nail it. That'll kill it.
And be aware, your voltage will vary region to region. Like we're more of 120 in Louisville.
Yes.
And I don't know what it is here.
I have no idea.
Here.
It may swing 5 volts one way or the other.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I would recommend is never switching between the windings with it on. That just doesn't feel right to me. So it was off, and then I throw the switch, it's back on, plug your multimeter in, you'll now have 100 volts coming out of that power outlet, okay? So it's pretty handy. So this other switch right here, okay, I don't know if you guys can see that, but what that does is powers up the switching power supply, okay, independently of the monitor, okay? If I throw that, I'm now actually feeding both, okay? Now, the way that this is output is I have these digital displays wired to each leg of the switching power supply. You can see the 5-volt voltage. It's actually running a little high right now, but it's unloaded. 12 volt, and then the -5, okay? Now, I know that I'm not going to get a reading on the -5. I understand, at least not a reading that this will measure, but I did it anyway just because I was in there, and why not? You know, it's one more LED to put on it, and I could swap that display out with something else, and then potentially get a reading on the -5 if I wanted to do that. That voltage, what you see from a voltage scenario, all of these, this current is now feeding inside this JAMA harness. So take a multimeter, pin this JAMA harness out, you'll get your plus 5.5 right now, you'll get your 12, and you can see your -5 right here on the JAMA harness. It's ready to go.
So where this is super helpful is, depending on the game board, it's going to draw a different amount of current.
Yes.
So unloaded, it's running like 5.5 now. We might put that on an early JAMA board, a little single board, some basketball game or something, and it might drop it down to about 5.1, 5.2.
Yeah.
We put that on like a Street Fighter or something that's multi-layer, and it's going to draw that thing down below 4.
Yeah.
So you've got it right there. You're not bouncing a multimeter. Don't ever hold a multimeter probe in your teeth.
Yes.
And then you can
I did that last week.
Well, 2 hands, it's kind of hard.
It's hard.
4.
And that's
This is all what not to do.
Yeah, this is the result of several years of doing what you should not do, okay? So what I guess kind of, makes this so handy and kind of neat is I don't need a multimeter when I power up the boards. All I need is to look at my board and turn an adjustment pot and go up or down and watch a big display that I can see from 1.5 feet away. A multimeter, I can't do that. And it falls, like you were saying, Brent, it falls. You have to reposition it. I cuss it. It's like, this should not be this hard. It doesn't have to be hard now because you got it. All right? So, and then she's dead. Okay? So that's that. So that's the board. Okay?
Sean survived.
Yeah, and Sean survived. Thank you very much. And like I say, yes, your wife does appreciate it. Let's set this down.
Hey, Whitney, before we move off, so
Yeah.
you explain almost everything on the left-hand side of the board, but I'm not 100% sure we know what's on the right-hand side of the board in the bottom right-hand corner.
In this right here?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay. So you want to...
For what reason is that important on my test?
Okay, so here's the thing. These distribution blocks break out your line power, your neutral, your return line, okay, neutral, the neutral line, and then earth ground. Okay, so instead of me wire nutting or jumper, solder, and wire nut, I thought, wouldn't it be better if everywhere I needed a ground, or if I wanted to break the power out, and on this board it makes sense because I'm actually feeding line power to two different switched sources. Okay, so what I needed to do was to connect line somewhere that I could then run line to two different places or three different places, and there are times like with the ISO, you do not want the ground for the ISO to ground to the monitor frame itself. So this right here, okay, is your clip-on to the monitor frame that then runs back here to earth ground, okay? So every time, what I found, I didn't start out this way, okay? Yeah, so every time I needed a tap, needing a new tap forced me to change the entire layout. I'm like, I'll never get this thing done. So it's like I need to distribute the power, distribute the ground, distribute the neutral, and I'm like, this actually works, and it works well.
So in the bottom of most cabinets, you will see a distribution block, but it's a different form than this.
Yeah.
Typically, what they'll do in the factory is they'll crimp. It's getting late. Thank you.
It is.
They'll crimp like a spade connector. Well, those are spade connectors. They'll clip like a slip-on connector or quick disconnect, and then the distribution blocks will have the male sides just kind of out at a little bit like a 15-degree angle.
Yeah.
And then that's like quick assembly. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
This is the same concept, other than it's got spade connectors and it's screwed down.
Yeah. And you know, if something were to happen and I needed to rearrange this or swap it out or whatever, or if I just wanted to add on to it at a later point, I can just pop these plastic caps off and I can tap power, and I don't have to disturb any of the wiring on this board. That was the driver behind doing that. Okay?
All right, so we're really, really close on time. Let's do something real quick.
Okay.
So Whitney earlier talked about doing some silly things and learning some lessons. Totally volunteer. Show of hands. Who's shocked themselves discharging a monitor? Your hand went up first that I saw.
Yep.
All right, come up here. We got a quick giveaway.
Steve did too.
All right. All right. Do you listen to the show?
Yeah.
Do you happen to listen? Okay, good. You can stay. Okay. So you got a quick choice here. All right. You've got what you can't see in this box that at some point in time I did find in an operator's warehouse. You've got your choice of 2 of the 4 remaining wonderful generic art marquees that are great for.
And Brent, I'm going to hold 2 other giveaways for the end.
And you're going to hold 2 other giveaways for the end.
Yeah.
Okay. A or B, the box that you can't see in, or the 2 marquees. All right, so he chose the box. I'll up it to 3 marquees if I get to keep the box. The box is mine. You get what's in it if you go with the box. You don't get the box. Box, 3 marquees. He wants the box. All right. Sir, do you have a pool table? That's original dust.
It's very hard to come by.
And the light and wiring kit for that. That's actually produced by Wicco from back in the day.
That's very nice. Cool.
Yeah. All right. That's awesome.
Sir, you chose wisely.
You chose wisely. Yes. Yeah, marquees you can find anywhere. So yeah, you made out. So guys, I've got probably 5 or 6 more slides to go through. So just kind of bear with me for a few minutes if you don't mind, and we'll do some more giveaways here at the end. I promise it'll be worth your time. So, okay. So all of this, you got it? There we go. Okay, so all of this leads up to, and the way that I'm going to bridge this together is, the other part, the other part of the hobby is what are we doing to keep the games, maintain the games. And so I built this long term to help save myself some money, okay, and some time, or him money. That's exactly right. But I want to kind of tilt this for just a second and pay homage to a segment on our show where we do cover on these reproduction parts, because what I find is that if I don't find some ways to economize, I'll never be able to solve problems like this. Okay, so it's a bit of a dichotomy, because we find ourselves in this circle that's hard to break out of. But we've got to have the parts, we've got to buy the parts, you got to spend the money. So do yourself a favor and help yourself save a little bit of money along the way, okay? So, okay, like I say, if there's one thing we're good at on our show, it's locating parts and finding parts. It's actually something that I think we've probably done a little too much of, actually. We do take it seriously, so much so we gave it a Twitter hashtag, okay? Brent doesn't mind, and if he does, it's too late anyway, okay?
Yeah.
I went back and tallied it up. We started this segment of the shows at episode number 5, and somewhere along the way we spent right at $14,000 of Brent's money. Now, what is it? $13,960 to be exact. All right. Now, here's the reason why. You may say, that number sounds really pretentious, okay? And you know what? Maybe it is, all right? What it's an indicator of, though, is how much is going on in our hobby. These are all new parts. This is artwork, reproduction control panels, reproduction controls, tools, total wiring kits, harnesses, and everything. And that's just within the past 2 years.
Yep.
And so it's insane how the money goes. Okay, it's really wild. Honestly, I was shocked that it wasn't more. When I did the final tally on this, I was expecting it actually to be over 20 grand, and I was kind of surprised that it only came up to that.
Still time.
Huh? Oh yeah.
Oh, it's a new year.
Yeah,
we're only halfway.
Yeah, exactly. So, real quick,
I'm selling marquees, by the way. Yeah, fund some of this.
They're only $1 million. Okay, so quickest way to stay in the hobby. Now, the other aspect of this, and we touched on this at the very beginning of the presentation, something that I feel that's driving the money on the games up, and it was the very last bullet point. It was reproducing an entire game. Okay, have any of y'all taken on one of those projects where you're literally building? Yeah,
that was
okay. All right, I got you.
You
there
get
you go.
700 hours
yes,
of AOL. There you go.
Yeah. Now I will say this. Doing it as well, so I understand it, okay? But just looking through this, okay, and what's interesting about this is all new, okay? Just within the past year to year and a half, all of this stuff for this particular game became available, except for one, but it's in progress. Looking through this list, what do you guys think this game is?
Discitron.
Whoa. Okay. You think Discitron? What did you say, sir? Major Havoc?
I think it's Star Wars Cockpit.
You think it's a Star Wars Cockpit?
No, it's a roller controller. It's got
Bingo. You guys are on time. This guy right here.
That man gets a marquee.
Yeah, this man gets a
Phoenix marquee.
Is that what that is?
Well,
all right, that's
Phoenix. Yeah, it's.
So yes, this is Major Havoc is what this is. Okay. Now, the PCB, $1,200. I included that number in because that's what they sell for on eBay. That's insanium is what that is for a PCB. But they're also we will also see reproduction PCBs probably here within the next hopefully 3 to 4 months. Okay, from my understanding, that's still going to be $500 to $600, and then maybe even more than that depending on how you build it out. But look at the final number on this, $36.86. Okay, I took this straight from a thread on Cloth. All right, where someone has been keeping track of what it takes to build a brand new Major Havoc, and the only thing that we're outstanding right now that's keeping us from putting a brand new Major Havoc right here on this floor are the metal speaker grills that run, the corrugated metal speaker grills that run down the side. Those are forthcoming though. Okay, there's a guy in Chicago who is doing those. But I mean, isn't this insane? I mean, and I participate in the insanity. I freely admit it.
If you think about it, how old's Major Havoc? When did it come out? Late 80s?
Yeah.
I mean, that game.
No, maybe 84, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that game new was probably $3,200. Packs were $3,200.
But how much does a Major Havoc go for today?
Right.
That's exactly right.
Think how inexpensive that is in today's dollars versus early 80s dollars.
Yes. Yeah. Now we tell ourselves that, Brent. That's what we do. We tell ourselves that. Yeah, exactly. So what's that now?
It's not an aspect of rarity.
It is.
Here they're producing as many as people want to buy.
That's exactly right. Or as many as people can buy, for sure. But what also drives this is the Game of the Year syndrome. Because it seems like on KLOV, Zookeeper got its year. Then Quantum had its year. Now Major Havoc is
Paperboy had its year.
What's that now? Paperboy? Yeah, you said Paperboy. Would you say, Mike, Mad Planets? 720. Those are all three perfect examples. I don't think those three games have peaked yet, but I think they're on their way up. And those three, Paperboy, Paperboy, Mad Planets, and 720, they will have their years on CLOV. It's just a matter of time. And you will then start to see reproduction parts for those games as well, I think, for rebuilding a brand new Mad Planets or something like that. It's just an interesting note to me in watching the arcade hobby over a certain point in time as to where this money has gone. But it's actually cool that we can build a brand new Major Havoc, as long as you're liquid enough to feel that that's a good deal,
Does that drive down the price of the?
Nope. No. No.
Madness came out remake.
Yeah.
For $8,000.
Okay.
Immediately went from $15,000 to like.
So that's on the pen side. So what David was talking about, if any of you guys didn't hear him, he was saying, does that drive down the price of the games? He was talking about the Medieval Madness remake and how when Planetary Pinball came out with that, then the prices on the regular, I guess the original Medieval Madnesses started to go down. We've not seen that on the arcade side at all. I mean, for all intents and purposes, right now Zookeepers can be reproduced now because as of this weekend, Arcade Shop is selling the J-Rock FPGA board out there, the multi Taito board, and it runs Zookeeper kicks and so on, but you won't see the price of an original Zookeeper go down. I don't think so. And when Major Havoc comes out, I don't think you'll see the price on them drop either. Yes, sir.
The difference is you can buy a little Medieval Madness, get it on a box and play it, where this you have to make.
Yes. And with all this, you have to, very, very good point. Yes, sir.
Play almost any game you want, almost indistinguishable on name.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You can have the full game.
Yeah.
Not even well,
but
to the average.
Yeah, no.
The average person.
That's true. Yeah,
We'll run it.
But in the spirit of it, you're right. Okay, Brent.
I changed it.
Oh, okay, thank you. So, just a few words of, this is the last slide, then we're going to do a couple giveaways, guys, then we'll go ahead and let you out of here, we promise. So, I guess a few words of expensive advice, and I say this because it's what I've seen in practice over the years. There's so many things that are being reproduced today. This is actually the golden age of arcade collecting, because you can get reproduction Nintendo coin doors, dual slot and single slot. You can get reproduction complete metal kits for like a Warlord's Cocktail, a Quantum, a Major Havoc, whatever it may be. Gottlieb, Taito, Nintendo control panels, completely reproduced and powder coated, ready to roll.
You might as well throw tape pins in on that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's very true. And the artwork and everything else that goes with it. What's that?
For the people that don't know.
Yeah. Let's see, custom controllers. I mean, the Major Havoc controllers are being reproduced in full entirety, okay? Take Man on CLOV is doing those. The high score of the multi-game kits, Donkey Kong Remix, the D2K boards, the Braze high score kits, and even the FPGA boards, like the upcoming pole position board. And we all want that. Yes. Please, Adam. Adam, if you ever watch this, we're rooting for you to get that done, Adam. Thank you. We bow to you, man, on that. Taito, the Millstar, the Gottlieb boards, all of that is J-Rock. The multi-Williams. I forgot about. I didn't include that. Thank you. Yeah, the J-Rock multi-Williams. It's all in there. So, buy in when it makes sense, but you also have to kind of look for a way to make it as cost neutral as possible. So something like this is a time saver and potentially even a game saver. So I construe that it could save you some money. Maybe not. We'll just go with it. That yes, it does. Take advantage of the pre-orders on Clav and Pinside and make it a marathon. Don't make it a race, because you're going to burn yourself out and you're going to lose just big time.
And one thing to note about things that come up on Pinside, Clav, whatever, if you have any interest in that game, and buy the part, because it could go away. Yeah. I was fortunate in that I was able to pick up parts for games that I have kind of on my radar, and when they come to me eventually, I can have the multi-game kit, this repair part, this unobtainium part, and it's just a matter of selectively budgeting. Don't go for everything, but if it's something that really interests you, get it, because it probably won't be there. This is a lot of this stuff is short run stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Plus, it convinces those guys to maybe take something else on.
Well, and it's almost, you bring up a very good point. If you don't feed the machine a little bit, then the machine will not produce the next three things that you need. So I don't know. I tell my daughter buck up buttercup sometimes, and it kind of comes down to that from time to time. If you want to make it happen, you just got to kind of make it happen. So real quick before we do the giveaway. So did this help? Is there something with this that you can take away from it? Okay, good deal. I certainly appreciate that. So my take on it is we showed you how to spend some money, to save some money, to then go spend some money. Okay, and if that makes sense, then you're doing it right. Okay, it's all about being self-sufficient.
I think I'm having an aneurysm.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about being self-sufficient, fixing your own games, and it's all about being safe while you're doing it, because I'm the poster boy for have been doing it wrong for several years. It's all about equipping yourself with the right tools to not be afraid to make that big grail buy that maybe it doesn't work, okay, but you still want it anyway. It's all about having fun, and that's a lot easier when you have options, when everything's not dead. Hang on for 1 second. And so, like I say, the presentation and the Beast bill of material will be available on our website, and I don't know why I typed a 4. Yeah, yes, sir.
You did the pinball thing earlier.
Yeah.
So how many pinballs do you have, and how many arcade video games do you have?
Okay, so Brent, you have to answer this as well, okay? It's only fair.
One qualification, that are fully working.
That are fully working? Okay. 3 pinball machines that fully work, and I own 3 pinball machines, okay? Arcade games that fully work, 23 or 24, and I probably own 45, I guess. Yeah. But when I say fully work, what I want to qualify is...
You guys are just pretty out.
So what I say by fully work is, I haven't wheeled it into my shop and replaced the frayed power cord. That I will not put it in my basement until that power cord is good, and I just haven't gotten to that game yet. And maybe it powers up just fine. I don't know, but I'm not going to put it in my basement until I've gone through it.
So pin wise for me right now, sitting in the basement, I just sold a game, making room for something that should be coming hopefully soon. I've only got 3 pins in the 3 or 4. I lost track.
4.
No, I sold
4.
4. I've got 4 left. Okay.
You're forgetting about the one around the corner.
All right.
Yeah.
So, that's right. I am. All right. So there's 4 in my basement right now.
Hey, I typed that 4 for a reason.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
And I probably around the basement, probably 20 or so arcades. And then out in the garage, kind of in deep storage, kind of on deck, I've got several that are in the condition like Whitney mentioned that just need a few things if I want to bring them in or not. There's 8 or 9 pins out there, and then probably another 35 or 40 game videos.
Yeah.
Well, there's a garage and a small building and a shed and a front garage.
And with me, it's a basement, a workroom, a storage room, and an outbuilding.
These things are these games are like goldfish. They're born pregnant.
Yes,
and they just multiply. They're everywhere.
They do. And the bad part about it is they multiply not working, and it's so frustrating.
Yes,
you know? Yeah. Okay. So real quick, time for some giveaways. Just a couple disclaimers here. Do not kill yourself, and if you do, we want to know about it. Okay. So tweet us at Broken Token just so we've got an eye.
Have a friend or your better half film.
Yes, exactly. We're not responsible for it. If you do kill yourself, I'm saying this on video up front. We're not responsible. There's no right of refusal. It is yours. Okay. So just don't poke somebody's eye out with it. If it shows up on eBay, we get 50%. All right. So I'm just saying that straight up front. And hey, if you want to create a cool, cottage product, we'd love to talk to you, get you on the show, get you on the podcast, and talk to you about it. It's pretty neat. Okay. So real quick before we let you guys go, quick show of hands. How many people have zapped themselves discharging your monitor? And keep your hands up. Okay.
How many people have pulled all the mics off the stage?
Oh man, I just leveled up is what I did.
Not only is she discharged, zapped herself, but maybe she's injured from the...
Yeah, she very well could be. It may be a pity shock. I know. Okay, keep the hands up. Keep the hands up. All right. How many people have shocked themselves twice? Just with the same monitor. Same monitor. Okay, all right. Twice. Okay, how about 3 times? With the same monitor? With the same monitor. Yeah. Okay, all right, you get 1 for sure, okay?
The third time I purposely did it to make sure that's what was solving the problem.
Oh, okay, all right, okay. Okay, I'm sorry, I can't, I mean.
He gets a marquee, and he gets AOL.
Yes.
Here.
Okay, all right.
There's nothing metal here so that you can't...
Here's the thing. So you guys win. I take pity on you both only because I've done it myself, okay? Not 3 times, but I have done it a couple of times, all right? So here's what I did. I went and I built you guys what I consider to be the world's best monitor dischargers, all right?
That's trademarked.
What's that now?
That trademarked, the world's best, yes.
Exactly. Now here's the thing. Now, I did not chintz out on the screwdriver, okay? Because your life depends upon the screwdriver, all right? So I got you a good screwdriver. I soldered the lead in and encoded it so you will not kill yourself with it. If you do, it's not my fault, okay? All right?
No, you're just grandstanding now.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to scare you into using this, and then you'll be better off for it, all right?
You put that to your tongue.
What's that? One time. And you only do that on Saturday nights, okay? So you've got your clip right here, and you've got a nice long lead to go with it, okay? So enjoy it, and use that to help yourself with not shocking yourself monitor-wise. All right? Okay.
Yeah, that was a PSA, a public service announcement.
I did like 3 PSAs to cover myself, so I think we're. I did 3 PSAs to cover myself, so I think we're okay on that. So that's that, and we thank you guys for spending a little bit, almost 20 minutes, and I certainly apologize for that, but I hope it was worth your all's time. I hope you guys got a lot out of the session. We are brokentoken.com. There's our email address if you want to send either Brent or I an email. Our website address, we're on Facebook at /BrokenToken. We're on Twitter at BrokenToken. AOL keyword, and hey, look, Brent, I found the AOL logo. You like that? It's pretty sweet, isn't it? And our BBS now supports 56 kilobits per second, so you can get all of this at a blazing hour and a half download or whatever that may be. So
we hope everybody enjoyed it. If you did, please tell the show staff and let them know that this was helpful.
Yeah.
And as I said earlier in the pinball talk, if you didn't, just keep your mouth shut. Okay?
Yeah. And one thing real quick, we've got some cards and some stickers up here if you guys want some. We do not run advertising on our show, okay? And we do not do sponsorship on our show. So if you guys feel like supporting the show, we've got some t-shirts up here, some podcast t-shirts up here for sale. $15 for anything up to and including an XL, and 18 for 2XL and 3XL. And that just helps us to keep, defer some of the cost of the show. But we're really proud that we don't run commercials, we don't run ads, and we don't do nothing against sponsors, but we just don't want that in our show. So so this is how we support the show and everything like that. So if you guys feel so inclined, you can wear the logo loud and proud.
Stickers are free.
Yep. Cards are free.
We actually have a couple of these up here. This is some of David Paul's wonderful artwork. This is Angry Rain Cloud Brent over Whitney, raining down on Whitney. There's a bunch of these down at our table. They're great for like kids if they want to color or something. Yeah. We've got a couple of them up here if somebody wants to snag some.
I'm scared to how they would make us look, but yeah, it's
that
awesome.
Would be awesome.
But no, thank you all very much for your time, for the session. And just follow us on Facebook or Twitter, and then you'll see the announcement when I post the bill of materials. And if you guys build this, okay, shoot, man, send us a picture and let's see how you did it, and let's see how you changed it up, and whether you thought it was worth the effort and the time. All right, thanks.